celebrate their successes. My name is Rob Sanchez, and this is episode 46. We're joined today by the founder and CEO of Bear Grinder, Amit Gorodetzer. Bear Grinder offers a high-quality grinder that has been uniquely designed to resist the buildup of residue that occurs with grinders over time. They use ball bearings set below the lid that allows it to spin freely and easily. Amit and I talk about the origins of the company from the prototype to the current models available, and even get hints of the 2.0 model around the corner. Find out more at beargrinder.com and enjoy the show. Amit, welcome to the show, man.
Hey Rob, happy to be here.
Hey dude, I'm glad to have you on and happy to talk shop about the Bear Grinder. Always happy to add a kind of a new piece to the collection and explore, new tools around the hobby.
Absolutely. I'm glad you enjoy it.
Yeah, it's been I've been using it now. I just checked before the show. I've been using it about 66 days now, and I think it's gone through, I don't know, maybe 6 to 8 ounces. So it's definitely been putting in work over here.
That's just the beginning, my friend. You have a lifelong time to use this grinder because it never gets stuck. Thus, you could use it practically forever.
Yeah, and let's get into the grinder story a little bit before we go into too much there. How long has I guess first of all, what is the differentiator for the Bear Grinder? The main selling points that make it different from the others on the shelves?
That's the question. So, Bear Grinder stands for bearing grinder, the little bearings that you find in the wheels of skateboards. So they, as a skateboard wheel spins and it keeps on spinning, so does the top of the lid of the Bear Grinder because it uses that ball bearing technology. So Bear grinders, they don't have any friction to them when you spin them. Because they don't have any friction, they're super, super easy to use. Plus, they don't have any of that gunk that gets built up on the outside of the grinder because that's only caused by friction. So when you take that out of the picture, you don't get that buildup and it doesn't get stuck after a while of using the grinder. So you could practically just keep on using it forever.
Right, that kind of grinder gunk that ends up sticking it to the bottom half. Sooner or later, you're trying to grind through that piece, or you have to take something and scrape it off, man. And I've definitely noticed that. Very little, if anything, is showing up on the outer rim of this. And I think I've been pretty aggressive with some of the grinds, putting a huge nug in here. So it's gone through the paces. And I mean, before we dig into the model too much or into the other aspects of the grinder, if we rewind the clock for you to, your earlier days before Bear Grinder, how did the idea come about and kind of what got you down this path of entrepreneurship?
Ooh, that's a long story. To shorten it up, I was in Israel a long, long time ago. That's where I'm from and was raised. And towards the end of my military service, I had this terrible accident that was caused by a bad surgery on the nose that was meant to help me breathe a little bit better. Caused some serious nerve damage, which was pretty hectic for a while, for a good few years. So sometime after my military service, after dropping out of college, I decided to fly to Hawaii and just figure things out. What better place to do than Hawaii, right? So I'm in Hawaii for a good few years. Started off, like a sales job and like spas that we have down there, and started working my way up. Starting to make more money. Start to invest it, and I start to realize that, with everything that's been going on in my life, all the pain and the suffering and all the stuff that I've been going through, also in Hawaii, I decided that, I wanted to do something a little bit bigger than what I had planned before. You know, just go all or go home. So I decided that with the funds that I was making in these spas, that I was going to start redirecting it to self-learning and courses and all of these other things that were just pushing me forward as a person. I joined this one program called InventRight. And InventRight is a really, really awesome program where they kind of guide you on how to take a product to fruition, get it all patented up with stuff, and kind of just get it licensed. Not to market, but try to get it licensed. But the laws are there. And so during that time, I had to choose a project. You choose a product that I wanted to work on to, prototype and all that stuff. And I really didn't know what I was going to choose. I had lists and lists of different ideas, different problems that I could solve for other people. I narrowed it down to like 2 or 3. But one day I took my board and I headed over to my buddy's house in Honolulu. And he had this, he said, let's roll up a joint. And I'm like, fantastic. But he only had this one grinder that he had was like gnarly and got stuck and really, really bad and gross. At the same time, when that happened, I was taking a look at my skateboard, taking a look at the grinder, and I just had like a mental baby, kind of just like happened. I'm like, why don't we use this build? Exactly. The aha moment was like, why don't we take this?
Is this after you had started the InventRight program? You kind of were already going through some of those steps, or starting to look at the world maybe through the lens of an inventor?
Kind of, sort of, yeah. I mean, it was definitely more funneled towards finding an idea pronto. And I had a few good ideas, but nothing that really struck me. There's nothing that really hit home, I would say. But the reason I chose this grinder as my subject, as my idea, was because during this time that I had these nose problems and this pain and all this suffering, the only thing that was actually ever able to give me any peace was cannabis. And this is something that to me is a personal savior. Cannabis has helped me in ways that no doctor could help me. So I decided that I wanted to improve the lives of all cannabis users, and upgrade their sesh, just like it did mine. And that's how we got to today, basically.
So, yeah, man. So as you went down that path of kind of self-improvement, did you know that you wanted to create a product already? Or were you looking at other courses and, just kind of at that stage of life, looking at all the doorways, trying to figure out which one to go in?
Initially, no. Before the military, before everything, I kind of wanted to be an architect, and I was kind of wanting to go down that path for a little bit. Eventually, I realized that being stuck in, a cubicle or having some 9-to-5 job was just not going to suffice anymore with everything that I'm personally going through. And I knew that the only standard of life that I could strive for that is going to give me any sort of happiness with the problem I was having is something that allowed me to have more freedom. So I decided that entrepreneurship is probably definitely the only way for me. And that's
definitely a benefit of the entrepreneurial side. What are some of the drawbacks, maybe, or some of the sacrifices of being an entrepreneur?
It's basically like this one meme quote that I've seen once. It's you leave your 9-to-5 to work 24 hours a day for yourself. But it's the drawback is that you work more, but it's more rewarding. So it's more rewarding work.
And kind of wearing all the hats.
And no pun intended, but absolutely. But at the same time, it helps you fall asleep at night. You work hard, you sleep better.
Yeah, there's there's some value there or some benefit to kind of understanding the vision you're working towards and having some say in that. Well-run companies can distill that down through their employees, I think, but the well-run part is kind of in quotes. It's difficult to do. To get that
Oh my
feeling.
God. Oh my God. I mean, just because I'm kind of I'm new to all of this. Bear Grinder is my first company, my first product, and it really allowed me to fall on my face many, many times. But the trick is to get up and learn from it and keep on going and
Kind of fail
not
forward, get your lesson,
exactly.
and try it again. Yeah. How many
It,
prototypes or models of the grinder were made before this version 1 that I've been grinding and smoking with?
oh man, I would say somewhere in the probably 30 to 35 range.
Wow, just with small changes and like specifications and things like that. Huh?
All of these, yeah. It started off as 3D printing. You could 3D print nowadays pretty much anything to test anything out before actually going into metal production, which is more expensive. So my engineer and we iterated many, many, many different types of models and designs and trying to figure it out because ball bearings, it's a messy component since you gotta have it stay clean in a product that is legendarily dirty. So we
Yes,
finding that seal.
the grinder can be that tool that just sits on or under the coffee table for years, right? Collecting keef and just
Yeah.
amassing residue.
Amassing forever. It's the one, I mean, like us as, people who smoke cannabis aren't notoriously known for cleaning things. So grinder is just one of those things that it just becomes harder over time where you just kind of give up because you're too afraid to even try after about like 6 months of use where it barely turns anymore. So you could either throw out your grinder, attempt to clean it, or get one that doesn't get stuck.
Right, right. Get some ball bearing action in your life.
You could
How
try, yeah.
how was the process for you to find, an engineer and find manufacturing? Does the Invent Right program help to facilitate that, or did you have to kind of hit the ground a little bit?
So InventRight doesn't exactly help you find an engineer or whatever it is that you need, but they do give you guidelines. Luckily for me, I knew of this website called Upwork, which is probably the biggest freelancer available to hire basically any profession on the internet, where you could find pretty much anyone that you need. So I put a post out there, did a bunch of interviews, went through a few engineers before I actually landed on the one that I wanted to use. And, when you find the right fit, it's just the right fit.
Right,
Eventually
right.
found them and been working with them ever since.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So you were able to stay with the same engineer throughout the whole project, huh? Once you decided?
Exactly. So that was fun. But finding a manufacturer is so much harder than finding an engineer. Finding the right manufacturer is brutal. It took
It's
me
not
like,
as sometimes not as straightforward maybe as having to interview and really ask for that engineering assistance. It's more legwork, huh? Maybe the traditional route of finding manufacturers.
yeah, I mean, I tried, it's brutal because not only do you have to wait like a few weeks for a sample to get made, it's not going to be perfect, and then you make an iteration, it's a few more weeks, and then a few more weeks, and then you realize that you don't like that engineer, or you don't like the factory, and you move on to the
Oh,
next one, you start right over again.
it's just
And that happened a
the
few times.
time between kind of results and feedback is a little slow, huh?
It's really really slow, and that's probably what took the most time for me. Is just finding the right manufacturer. But once you find the right guy, once you find the right place, then it all kind of flows after that. But it's brutal for sure.
What was the quantity then of your first run, your first manufacturing run here?
my first ever run, I made 1,000 pieces.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did it feel finally getting that stack that kind of in your doorway?
To be honest, it was amazing. But funny story, when I ordered it to my house since I didn't have like a warehouse at the time. And I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. And, I asked my manufacturer, like, where is it? Like, I thought it was supposed to arrive. They're like, it arrived like 4 days ago. And in the back of my mind, I do remember seeing a stack of boxes on the outside of my building right next to the stairwell. And I was just like,
Man.
for the longest time, I was just like thinking for a few days, like, who would leave their boxes out there? It could rain at any time. And then when they told me that, and that just like, it kind of just like connected, I'm like, oh my God. So I ran down there. I collected all those boxes, praying to God that, like, thinking the universe that it didn't rain, because then it would have been real, real bad since the packaging is made of carton, you know? So,
Yeah.
so I got them all, and I put them in my apartment, and it was a really nice feeling seeing all that hard work come to fruition, for sure.
Yeah,
Very
definitely. Now
satisfying.
it kind of open the doors for the next obstacles, right? In the company push. How
Oh man,
about setting
it
up the
never ends.
website and the branding? Were you able to do some of that kind of in parallel while you worked on the product specifications?
Yeah, pretty much. It all kind of just like happens in tandem, but the website was definitely a challenge. I didn't know it was going to be that much of a challenge, that hard, that long. It took a good few months to create the website and everything. I hired this really, really awesome company called Puff Creative. They're like a cannabis, marketing company that helped me put it
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
They were my second attempt. My first attempt was with a company that had no idea how to market cannabis, what were allowed or not allowed to be put in on, the website, and that was a learning experience. The website did not come out great. So, take two, I hired a different company, Puff Creative. They're absolutely awesome. Love them so much. Shout out to John and Katie. And
Yeah. What's up, John? We got to get you guys on the
yeah.
show here soon.
And they're really, really awesome. They help me with my marketing as well. They help me connect to a lot of different people in the industry. They're really, really awesome company. But they made the website, and they made it a lot easier than the first attempt, but it still took a long time to create. But I'm pretty happy with it now. So yeah, that's
Awesome.
definitely a hurdle.
Yeah, right. And it's like just getting that store open, and then you can start working on some of the next steps. And I saw you on the floor of BizCon this week. What are some of the next steps for Bear Grinder, or what's kind of on the horizon for you?
So we are currently looking for investment, and we are looking to scale the business. The first round went well. We're currently on the second round. It's going well, but we have a bunch more grinders to release. The V2, the second version of the grinder, is ready, and it will be coming to a table near you very soon. Hopefully,
Nice.
very soon. But beyond that, we have some very interesting and unique grinders that the world has never seen before, that do pretty incredible things. Can't get into it right now, but let's call it a multi-tool of cannabis accessories. And it's
Ooh,
really, 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 really dope. But for
looking
all of
forward to
that to
seeing that.
happen, yeah, for all of that to happen, for all of that, we need some funds to get that going, and that's what we are currently on right now. But just another hurdle, just like everything else. No.
Yep. Yep. And I think from my experience with the grinder, man, as you get it out there and more folks can experience it, I think the product will start to speak for itself there. It's been a pretty solid piece, kind of a mainstay on the smoking tray the last few weeks.
That's really, really awesome to hear. I'm super happy to hear that.
Were there any
First, you're
features
gonna
in the
love it.
grinder? Oh, go ahead.
I said, yeah, you need to love it. Hopefully,
Oh,
it's
right.
hopefully it becomes like an indispensable part of your sesh. or at
Got
least
to
it's been
get
for
that
me.
product market fit. Yeah, exactly, man. I think it's well on its way for that. Were there any features in the grinder that you had to nix or that were too wild for the engineer? Like anything that you wanted to work into it that maybe didn't see the light of day?
Yeah. There were a few. One that comes to mind was we tried to engineer the holes on the grinder to become bigger and smaller at the flick of a switch. Like there's a
Oh,
plate
interesting.
underneath. There's like a plate underneath the holes where that you could like kind of like move it, kind of like spin it because it's another circle, and that would minimize the holes of the grinder. Thus, you
Ah,
get
I
like a
see.
smaller grind. Now
Yeah,
that all sounds great in theory, but realistically, it's a lot harder than it seems.
put
So
a lot more like specification, a lot more weight on that little piece of the project, huh? If you needed to work that mechanism inside it.
kind of, sort of. It just didn't like produce the results that we wanted to. The idea was pretty cool, and the prototype is pretty
Yeah.
dope, but it didn't actually make the weed much smaller when grinding, so we trashed it.
Right. Maybe some of those ideas could get some energy in later versions. It's got to be interesting just thinking
Hopefully.
about how to innovate things like that we've all grown accustomed to. There's always kind of an edge there where or a combination that hasn't been thought of before. That's it's always intriguing. Easier
Yeah,
said than
yeah.
done, I think, to look at tools and try to combine them.
It's for me. It's even though it's difficult and takes time, it's kind of just like thrilling. Personally, I kind of like live for it now. All that tinkering and inventing. It's fun. I love it.
Yeah, it sounds like your journey's been a lot of fun so far, and definitely can see some success on the horizon for you guys. For listeners and folks that are starting to build up their smoking kit, or maybe that have a tried and true one, uh, what are some reasons maybe to consider expanding or exploring the market and trying kind of what's out there now?
Oh man, the market nowadays is absolutely wild. The different inventions and the innovations that they have that, make our life so much easier. I've seen some crazy, crazy things. You know, this industry has been hiding for the longest time. And, cannabis makes you creative. And about, 10, 12 years ago when it first became legal, that Pandora's box, it opened, and all these people started coming out with all these crazy inventions all at once. And it's been really, really exciting to see the progress and not just accessories, but plants and the different ways they grow, cultivate, packaging. It's just unbelievable in an industry that was considered highly illegal not very long ago.
Yeah, man, across the space, it's really like the doors are blown off of the possibilities and the entrepreneurship there. When it used to be kind of the tried and true, the staples were how you could consume. All right, you had your basic
Uh,
grinder, like spoon pipe and bong, your papers for rolling. Nowadays, it feels like there's so many vapes and so many different companies and consumption methods. It's exploded.
Yeah, I mean, just the contrast of me remembering going back in the day to my guy who would come and pick me up, and then we'd sit in the back of his car, and he would hand me, just like ground up trash in the corner of a plastic bag. You know what I'm talking about? And he would just
Yeah.
be like, "Here, this is for you." I'm just like, "Oh man, like it's got to be better than this." Nowadays, you go to beautiful, beautiful smoke shops, and it's such a luxury experience, and it's just so much better.
Yeah, it makes it
I
feel
love it.
like another day. I know there are
Yeah,
still states that don't have that market yet, so it probably still some vibes there going strong. But man, it's unique being able to just go in and purchase after making those car door deals and house window deals.
it's true. I've been to Texas recently, and I also used to live in like South Carolina, and And it's crazy how vast the smoke shop industry is over there. I would say almost even more than California. All these places where
Oh,
you
wow.
just can't get it, it's these smoke shops are exploding. And like
You
people are
know
just
that
so eager.
it's still there, or people are providing it underground if they need all the accessories and they're benefiting off this innovation, like the Bear Grinder.
I would even say it's like they're hiding it, man. It's like you're just driving down the street and the smoke shop is the only store that you could actually see because they're putting on all the lights. It looks like Christmas, and you can spot it from a mile away, and no one's hiding it anymore, baby. It's coming out.
You think Texas will be last on the list, or will they get it? You think they'll get something going in the next few years on the rec side? I know they have a really strict medical program right now.
I could only hope, man. I could hope. I wish, because I know that when it comes online, then the market's just going to be so huge, especially in Texas. So I hope so.
Yeah, that's a really good point, right? The market it's going to bring online when a state like that finally switches over is pretty serious. The number of licenses and consumers, all the possible feedback, and more thinkers and innovators there that have only gotten started as the markets come online.
Exactly, man. Exactly. I mean, and it's such a huge state. I mean, there's bound to be some like massive ripple across the United States. The cannabis industry when it happened. So I'm super excited. Minneapolis just became legal. Whoever thought Minneapolis was going to become legal? Like Minnesota. So there you go.
I actually left Minnesota because of that in like maybe 2016 or so. Ended up moving out of the state, trying to get back to rec states, back into the space.
Oh, wow. Is that where you're from?
For a little while, I was living up there. Originally, I'm from Kansas City and kind of was bouncing around and went out to Colorado and cultivated for a while before getting to Minneapolis. And Minneapolis is actually where the original apartment 113 was based.
Interesting.
So, like,
very cool.
A few minutes out of downtown was apartment 113.
I was wondering about that because, I was thinking maybe, like popping by when I was in Vegas. I'm just like, I wonder if he's in apartment 113 or not.
Right. No, not anymore. But the apartment vibe was really good. We had a lot of kind of after parties and interesting get-togethers that had just a high degree of transparency. People were really chill. It was a good circle and good people. So the idea for the show was to try to bring people into that virtually, right, and have those conversations that we could have in apartment 113 before.
I like that. That's really good. That's dope.
Yeah, it's been fun, man.
Good times.
For sure. And shout out to Minneapolis, man. Finally coming online. I can't wait to get out there and smoke some flower.
Hell yeah.
Ohio's on the list too.
There's going to be mayonnaise in it somehow.
There you go. You need a juicy Lucy and a blunt. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's going to be funny.
Juicy Lucy concentrates. You heard it here.
Juicy Lucy. That's the next weed strain, my man.
Yeah. And I saw Ohio's coming online, but having some other back and forth about some of those regulations. So more and more states are peaking. Who do you think is going to be last? We've been taking estimates on the show. There's been a few folks voting. Texas, I think, was one that was voted last. I think a few people mentioned like some southeastern states, like Tennessee.
I'm going to say Alabama.
Alabama. I think that's the first for Bama, but maybe not the last.
I mean, nothing against Alabama, but, I just hear no chatter from Alabama in the industry, so.
I wonder if it'll become like a race to legalize eventually where the states will just start falling down, like dominoes. Or if we'll see some kind of federal action before that. That's the $1 million question right now.
That's what we're all waiting for. As a joke, I joke with my friends that there has to be some serious catastrophe for the federal government to be like, hey, we're legalizing weed for everyone now, so let's forget about everything else. But, who knows?
They're just keeping it as like an ace in the pocket.
Exactly. Let's just see. I'm sure it's good, because everyone agrees that it's going to make everyone happy. There's nothing against it. It can't harm anyone. There's tax dollar revenue to every state. There's
Jobs and more.
jobs. Exactly. There's like practically no downside. It's a mystery. It's politics.
Yes, sir, exactly. And man, bringing it online federally would really open up like the distribution channels, supply chain, warehousing that you need. And it would be something else to be able to sit at your home and order flour from, Humboldt County, and
Oh
then
my God.
from Miami on the same order, just getting some flour grown in that environment, kind of coming from those markets. It'd be really
For real,
great.
man.
I think the world of e-commerce is just gonna blow up as well with that.
And it's not so uncommon. Canada, completely legal. Mexico, legal. What's with us? We're the odd ones out at this point.
Everyone's dragging their feet. I think you're right. Well, definitely it's caught in the politics, and I couldn't even begin to dissect that or untangle that spaghetti of what has to happen first. But I feel like maybe holding it back for that trump card, that final like, oh well, it's okay, guys. Don't worry, we got the cannabis legality here, so let's give that to the people and try to gloss over this.
God forbid,
Disaster or something.
catastrophe happens where they have to pull out that card. I wish they just made it legal already.
They gotta interact with the aliens for a while and get us all busy for a few weeks.
Oh God, we just have to get like a millennial president,
There you go. Eventually.
Like right away. Just like someone like in their 30s or their 40s, and I'm sure it'll happen in no time.
Yeah, especially growing up in time like this, seeing the different markets and just seeing recreational cannabis working per se, trying to work in all these states. I think it'll be a no-brainer.
Yeah, man, we're all waiting. We're all waiting for that day. They keep on hinting at it. They keep on teasing us, here and there, whatever. But, I've been fooled before, so
I'm just
gonna wait for
happy.
the real
I think
thing.
that we made it. Yeah, right. Just wait for it, and gonna be happy we made it this far already.
It's far. It's quite far. Me, I live in California. I hope it becomes legal everywhere, but right here, we're thriving. We're good. Nevada, same. Minnesota.
Right.
So wherever we can, we thrive. We enjoy. Wherever it can't be, we'll find other ways. It's been that way for a millennia.
Yes, yeah.
Makes
The
it
plant
easier.
has a way of getting around.
It's a weed, man. It grows everywhere. You can't really hide from weeds, right? It's eventually
Right.
just gonna sprout.
And where the cannabis goes, the bear grinder follows.
We try, we roll.
Awesome, man. Well, in the meantime here, where can our listeners find out more about you or grab a bear grinder for themselves?
Well, you could go to our website, www.beargrinder.com. You could check us out on our Instagram, which is bear_grinder. You'll be able to see all the videos and stuff and things and instructional, really, really cool stuff. Go check us out there and enjoy. I hope you enjoy every bit of the grind, as they say. No longer a chore, but an enjoyment.
Information about the show, along with our services and courses, visit apt113.com. We offer cannabis software product management, cannabis education courses, and freelance writing. With over a decade of experience in the cannabis industry, Department 113 is here to help.